Hi, I'm Karen Jones and welcome. The name of my company is K-Scope Focus and I am an author, speaker, and also life coach. I help women that are going through changes in their lives and I help them to wake up and shake up, listening to that wake-up call when change is knocking at their door and they want to be empowered to embrace the change. So I'm going to ask a couple questions first. And then I'm going to share my story, and then we'll go from there. Is that good? Okay. Can you tell me if you've had a relationship that's turned your life upside down? Could be your children, could be a spouse, could be a friend. Okay. Can you also tell me if you've had a change in your job, there was downsizing, you suffered a layoff, or maybe a boss told you you didn't have passion anymore. Have you suffered from a traumatic event? It might be a health scare. It may be a death in the family. I asked my daughter, do you know when your dad's coming back from his business trip? And she turned around and she said to me, no, Mom, I don't know. I don't keep track of that. And I said, well, you know what? I don't either. And he had been gone a couple of days and I was just like, what kind of wife am I? I had no idea when he's returning. So I thought the best thing to do was to call his office and find out. So I called, a little egg on my face, kind of admitting I didn't know, talked to the secretary and I asked her, I said, you know, my husband said he was traveling, I don't have the itinerary, usually he leaves it, and this time he didn't. Could you kind of tell me when he's returning? And she turned around and said, well, he isn't traveling, actually, he's in the office. And with that, I kind of said, oh, really? And she said, would you like to speak to him? And at that point, I was like, I wanted to say no, because I was a little angry. But I said, no, I do want to speak to him. He got on the phone, and I said, hello, how are you? I was really looking forward to kind of finding out when you were returning. And there was a long pause. And with that long pause, he had said to me, I didn't really know how to tell you this, but I moved out. We hung up the phone, and I just collapsed. I collapsed on the floor in my office, and I really didn't know what I was going to do next. It kind of shook my life up quite a bit. It was definitely a wake-up call. And it was the type of wake-up call you can't press the snooze button and say, well, let's just try this again. It had ultimately changed my life, and it was one of those things where I had to respond pretty quickly to figure out what's next. There's an event that happens in your life, and we call it the change event. It's that one moment. For me, it was the moment my husband said I moved out. My boss said, I'm getting rid of you. But there were those little moments, and sometimes they accumulate, and sometimes you don't want to deal with them. But the way to deal with them is identify it and then go through the healing zone. And that healing zone was answering the questions. Where am I going? What am I doing? What's next? And going through the healing zone is, how can I move forward in a calm way? So for me, meditation was one of those things. And meditation isn't 5 minutes, meditation isn't 25 minutes, and meditation isn't doing, ohms. It really opened my eyes. It opened my eyes because the path was always there. I just kind of shut it down. And once you see that it's there, you want to take advantage of it. And once you move forward, then you're actually thriving, because then you're embracing the change, whatever that is. And you figure out what it is. And then from there you celebrate. You celebrate the highs as well as the lows. And sometimes you celebrate those lows because it was a sweet spot that you really enjoyed once you hit the top of the mountain. And that is one of the things that I found as a result of my journey. So when you pay attention to those wake-up calls, yeah, you can hit the snooze button, but they're not always the wisest thing to do. When you're also paying attention to what else is going on in your life, figure out your passion, figure out your purpose, and that's what you're going to dig deep to find. because that's what's giving you curiosity to discover and explore what's next. It's also going to give you the courage to go forward. You will be able to find the change that you want, celebrate the life that you have, and you will incredibly identify what makes you happy. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those questions. But I appreciate you being here today, and thank you.